Welcome to Tyrompers No Limit Podcast.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to Tyrompers No Limit Podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, we are fired up today. We got episode number 77. This is a man I probably talked to 1,000 times, but the first time in person. We're honored today that he has hopped on. This is his first ever podcast, although he hosts an awesome podcast too, and we'll link all that he does below. But this man is on an absolute mission right here. I love watching his journey. He's been changing his life in real time on social media. He builds others up. He brings everybody up with him, myself included. He's the CEO and the creator of the Warrior Kings community. He inspires me and others daily. This is my brother, Zach. Welcome to the pod, man. How you doing today, young man?
Oh, Tyler, dude, I'm glad to be here. Glad to be on this podcast. Spread that positivity. Hey, got the merch all ready for you, man.
I appreciate that, man. I should have worn it. We could have been twinsies, man. But I appreciate you repping the gear, man. You're a guy who has just burst onto the social media scene, maybe a year or so ago. And, I would assume a lot of people that probably follow you too, because we're in the same circles, but maybe give some people who don't know a little bit about you, like a little backdrop, who you are, what you're about, brother.
All right, let's do it. So my name's Zach, born and raised in Michigan, so as I like to call it, the 4 seasons, because you can experience 4 seasons all in one day. You want to go skiing? Snow will be there. You want to have some sunshine? Sunshine. Some fall, some with the trees falling and everything, with the leaves. Man, you can experience everything. Forget about the 4 season resorts. Michigan's the place to be. So let's see. A little bit about me is my day job is actually being a clinical therapist. So I'm in the mental health realm where I help people who struggle with mental health challenges, focusing on suicidality. A lot of them compared to substance abuse. So been doing this for going on 2 years. But prior to this job, I was actually a special education social worker. So I used to work in a school pre-K to 12th grade, while I was the only one there. So that was a lot of fun, just hanging out with the kids and a little bit of a rural part of town. And recently started my own company, Men's Lifeline LLC, where focusing on developing more coaching for men, helping men become who they are and what they want to become, and helping them to be successful. My whole life has been about servitude. So even from a young age of like 5, on a cruise with my grandparents, felt like they shouldn't feel alone. So I bought my walkie-talkie that my parents had me just in case I wanted to go and explore, and wanted to be with them just to make sure that they weren't alone. And then from there, just soup kitchens, different mission trips I've been on. And what really sparked it was actually when I was a sophomore in high school, taking a sociology class, which was more of a junior senior class. And there's a kid who had Tourette syndrome. And at that point, I had no idea what that was. And I always hate to say this, but there was I felt like there was like a South Park episode that just made fun of it. And I'm like, wait, is that all they do? Is that like a thing? But the teacher knows I had like a caring, compassionate heart. So I was actually paired up with that kid. But challenges, so I was able to understand someone who has some challenges in their life and recognize, when they needed encouragement, when they needed a break to go put on music. And then when the kid needed a break, to go take that break, but always welcome them back and worked on the project, had a lot of good ideas. And it was a very successful experience. I mean, it was very humbling because you don't know what someone goes through.
Man, I love that.
So my whole life has been completely about servitude.
I love that, man. Thanks for sharing that, dude. No wonder I love you so much. When I see you on the timeline, you're always one of these guys who's like encouraging, putting out so much positivity, cheering everybody on. I feel like that's what I try and do every day on Twitter and in real life too, man. And it's so cool that your teachers recognize that from a young age and help to even put you in a leadership role. It sounds like early on in high school, saying, "Hey, we kind of want you to care for and help these kids, man." I remember being in high school myself, Zach, and our principal came up to me and a couple other guys when we were juniors or seniors, and they said that there was a kid transferring in that was going to be a freshman, and he'd gone through a really hard thing in life, and would we help him? And dude, we made him the most popular kid in school, man. I love that kid to death, And so I think it's cool when people recognize that certain people have talents and they help to develop that. And now you're paying that forward and kind of recognizing other talents in other men and people and helping them grow. Can you talk a little bit about that, your journey, and kind of what gets you on fire to get up every day, go so hard, and then help other people and bring them up along the way too, man?
Yeah, absolutely. So what really gets me fired up is seeing the impact So sometimes being a therapist, it can be very hard because you're in this mindset that you're in a position to change. And when you focus solely on changing people completely, it can be very daunting because, as we know, transformation takes time.
Hmm.
So I had actually developed the mindset of impact, not change. His impact, there's different levels of it. So, for example, when I would work with students and a lot of times whether it be ADHD or some other challenge, they had a hard time sitting. So what we focused on was impacting them, where we would see what the benchmark was. So if they could sit for, let's say, 30 seconds, that was the benchmark where we're going to work at, because we always have to start with people are at. And then gradually through positive reinforcements and sticker rewards and things like that, they went from 30 seconds to, let's say, a minute. Now, that's huge. That 30 seconds is key where they're focused in. And impact is when you focus on that gradual process versus a change mindset, which is you want it done like now. So it's kind of part of that delayed gratification, but for your own self, so that way you don't get burnt out. So that way you can recognize how difficult it is for people. So what gets me on fire, like every single day, is having that mindset that I'm out here to make an impact. Not really necessarily to change people's minds or ideas, but to make an impact on a different way of living, and leaving it up to them to make that decision. Do they want to change their thought process, their mindsets, their health, and do they want to take serious? Because it's up to them. Like if they make that mind that they want to improve, they will. And it's hard, and that mindset is not going to happen overnight. It's going to happen over days, weeks, months, and years. I mean, the person I am today is the span of, just turned like 30, like last month, 2 months ago, technically. And it's taken years. So, I didn't always have the greatest mindset myself, or I really struggled with who I was as a person, whether that's my faith in God, just my natural abilities, always questioning those. It's taken time to develop that level of confidence. And that's just learning, studying, growing, and meditating on the person I want to become. So really taking that all in, and all the skills and knowledge I was given by God is, serving others. And it would be a disservice not to share that information. Because I remember being an intern, and sometimes there was a mindset. Now with all of the supervisors I had a lot of great ones, but with some of them had the mindset of, I'm not really going to teach you. I mean, you're going to have to kind of learn it on your own. And so for me, I didn't want to go forward with that mindset of, well, why won't you share all the information and take time to teach me how to be a therapist, to teach me the skills and everything that it takes? I had a lot of mentors that have done that took me by a step-by-step process, and there was a few that didn't. So you always have to look at the greater versus the little bit more challenging, whether there's a time issue, because a lot of them did have families. So I didn't want to be that person. So if I'm going to mentor someone, if I'm going to coach someone, if I'm going to do therapy with somebody, I'm going to give it my all. I'm going to share everything that I know that works from both a scientific research and just general practice, because I feel like it'd be such a disservice to not do that. So that's what gets me on fire, is sharing the knowledge I've obtained, and then through the person learning and growing to develop the wisdom it takes to go through that experience.
And so much. I love a lot of what you said there, man. It would go a lot of different ways. The way I'll go here is, I love what you said is the gifts that God sort of put in you and gave you. You've always from a young age loved to serve, loved to help, and you have that mindset of, hey, it's not a quick fix, right? And I love how you give that example of a child, because I'll be honest, Zach, I have a son who's 2, and he's showing a lot of signs of ADD, and he's a wild boy, right? There's part of that, but what you said is, hey man, we're trying to work on him to get him from a minute to 2 minutes of just doing one activity. And we're working on that and working on that. It'll be a big deal when we get there, right? But I do think a lot of people come in, whether that's in their personal life or helping others, and they want these quick fixes. And well, we're gonna go from 0 to 100. And life doesn't work like that. You have to put in the work and build up and get these little small wins to get you there. So at what point, I guess, in your life did you flip that switch And, brother, now I see you at the gym every day, right? Like you're like locked in every day. You're posting pictures where you're there, you're getting after it. Like, I'm going to change my body, my mind, everything about me, right? I'm going to get to these areas I want to go. When did that switch flip for you, man?
That's a great question. I would say the switch really probably came when I was in high school, between my sophomore and junior year. Well, I wasn't necessarily hanging out with the most positive people always.
Mm.
And so for me, it's more, do I want to continue to go down this path? Because a lot of them were not going to go down good paths. I knew what they were doing. It was not good things. And I didn't want to get wrapped up in that. And so I had to make a decision to walk away from a lot of stuff. And it was painful.
Yeah, that's not easy at 16, 17 when those are some of your good friends, but you see them maybe doing activities that you don't want to be a part of, right?
Well, especially with a kid that I knew since I was 5.
Mm.
I mean, when I moved here, when I lived in a different city and I moved to another city, I knew a kid that was 5, and we relatively stopped hanging out when I was a sophomore, junior, really.
Yeah, that's a hard
just
thing,
saw
man.
the track that they were, yeah.
How have you gone about that in your life then? Because I think that's a good lesson for a lot of people. Kind of as you grow a little bit, you do kind of change some friend circles. You want people that are kind of going up with you too. And it's hard when other people kind of want to stay down here. So how do you deal with that in your life, man?
Well, obviously, you're going to recognize that your circle is going to get small, and it's going to get small quickly. So you have to recognize and be confident who you are. That it's not necessarily you. It's you making a decision that it's time to grow. It's time that these friends might have been seasonal friends, that they served a purpose. Your time with them wasn't nothing, because that's going to nullify and dilute everything they spent with them. The laughters, maybe some tears and things like that. And we don't want to reject what we didn't like, but it was there to serve a purpose. So for me, it's finding purpose and meaning things like that. I can tell you what is a good friend, what's a bad friend. So we have, and that's why I always try to do the distinguish between knowledge and wisdom. Like, we know naturally what is a good friend and what's a bad friend, naturally.
Yeah.
However, I think lack the wisdom to know how someone's life can impact your own. As the famous saying goes, show me your friends and I'll show you your future.
That's right.
Right.
Yeah.
So for me, it's making that decision. Do I want to be around people who aren't necessarily positive? And I'm not saying positive all the time, right? But do I want to spend my time with people who don't really listen to me? I've experienced that quite a bit in my life, where I'll pour everything into somebody. If I consider you a friend, a bro, I'm pouring everything that I am. You need help move, I'm there. You need some comfort, words of encouragement, I'm there. But the question becomes, does that person do the same? And I've been in conversations where I'll be maybe discussing a heartache with like a friend, and kid you not, within 5 minutes, the conversations went from on me in my time of need to now back to them. So now I'm spending the next 20, 30 minutes now helping them. So I had to make the decision. This was in college, and everything was, I wanted to make a decision. Well, I want to hang around with people who are positive, who are encouraging, who want to push you to be the best, and not be afraid to call you out when you're not living up to a certain expectation that they can be called to.
That's really the definition of a perfect friend right there, man. They're there for you. They're encouraging you most days, but if you need to have a hard talk, they'll have that with you too, right? And so how do you go about now, Zach, finding those people then to be in your community? I know some people just attract to you because you kind of lead a community like that. So that's kind of a cheat code. That's pretty awesome. But in real life, I guess, day to day, and when you're working in that environment and things like that, how do you go about seeking that out? Or if somebody's listening to this and they're like, well, I want that, how do I find those things? What would you tell somebody?
Well, I'm going to tell you probably someone who has the best advice, and that's always going to be your mom. Your mom knows best.
Amen.
So I was saying, and she's always taught me, exactly, moms, we wouldn't be here without you. But it's one of those things, again, like, you can be told something, but until you experience it, it's a completely different feeling. Like, I grew up always being told by my mom, if you can count on your hands, even if it's like less than 5, if you can count like 1 or 2 people that you can call in a time of need, you are blessed. Because not everyone's going to be in a back corner. There's going to be friends, and you can kind of categorize a little bit into, your best friends, your good friends, your acquaintances, people you're kind of casual with, and different things like that. So for me, it's going to recognize that people who really want to improve your life and transform, it's not going to be a big population, because a lot of people do like to live in comfort because it's safe, and that's your choice. If that's what you want to do, then go ahead. You live your life the way you want to live. But for someone who wants to know, just recognize that it's going to be like one or two. Like, I have a few people that I have been friends with for a few years that I can call up, and they'll answer, and we live out of states. But from the day-to-day kind of living, I use social media, honestly.
Yeah.
Whether it's something that you post that gets me lit up and fired up and helps me reframe my mindset. So it's not just people in your day-to-day, but it's also who do you interact online. So that's why I really try hard to, really filter the social media, so that input output, right? That we want to make sure we input a lot of those positivities, people who really have your back. Like, I've made some cool friends on Twitter. Like, I made like a lot of cool people that if I need to, I could just like text them and we can talk something out, and vice versa. I mean, I think that's what's so incredible, and that's one of the good things that social media has done, is that even though people do feel alone in this world, there's still different ways that we can connect with one another. And that's why we need to focus on bringing a connection, not a disconnection. So we need to connect with people, and that disconnection is when we start comparing our lives. It's so easy on social media. Well, this person has like 200,000 followers. This person gets like all the likes, and he's like, and just started like 3 months ago. I've been at this for like a year and barely growing. You're like, what the heck?
Yeah, it's easy to do that, but I think you
more.
make a great point, Zach, about how you can seek that out and that's available to anybody, right? And I'm really proud of the fact that I got onto you early, man. I was like, dude, this guy, I'm following this guy. He's so positive. Like, you're one of my favorite people on there, man, because you just inject life into every conversation you go into. And I think anybody can choose to do that, right? And get in part of these circles and be a part of the team. I think you made a good point. I want to ask your opinion on this because it made me think of a guy that I know we both really like and love. Actually, the editor of this channel, Alex Hart. I know you love Alex. I love Alex.
Alex, you're the man.
He is the man. And I consider Alex one of my best friends in life. We've hung out exactly one time in real life, man. I literally consider him. I've had some hard conversations. I've told him when I'm really struggling. We've talked through some things, whether that be sometimes it's poker, sometimes it's life balance, things like that. But I love this guy to death, and I've only met him once in real life. And I have other guys like that. Zach Hommel, I've spent 4 days with. This guy's literally changed my life, though. All the things he's posted, the amount of wisdom he's poured into me. Why do you think that is, to find those connections maybe online as opposed to in real life, where I don't know, because I wonder this sometimes myself. Like, I'm friends with a lot of my neighbors and a lot of people like that. And the community, I have a lot of dads that I just chat with when we're playing, but I don't really get into super deep stuff as much as I do with the guys in our community. And I wonder why you think that, and kind of your thoughts on that, man.
Oh, absolutely. I think because I think it's a little bit easier on social media because we're all coming for a common goal and a common purpose, with our purpose of recognizing that there was something within us that wasn't right, and we want to improve our life, and then not only improve our life, but now serve and help other people.
That's true.
And so I think in social media, with the algorithm, how things work, we're all drawn to each other because that's what we're all looking for. Like, we're not afraid to block people. We're not afraid to unfollow people. If all of a sudden we see a lot of negativity or a lot of maybe inappropriate things, that just might have been one or two, but that kind of turns you up. Like, I don't want that in my feed. So however the algorithm works, it's like, oh, hey, look at more of these other guys who are like, want to improve their life and who've also gone through struggles. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I don't struggle with like alcohol or drugs or anything like that, but I can't tell you how many times like on my feed, I might see people celebrating a day of sobriety, 1,000 days. Shout out to Zach Small.
Yeah, I love Zach Small too, man. Former guest.
And just everything else. I think it's a little bit harder in person because it's a little bit easier to reveal yourself on a social media platform where other people are struggling. And when you actually face someone face to face to say how you're struggling, you don't always know how that person's going to respond. So I think if we had more of a purpose-driven, we would see it more in our communities where people can let down their guard a little bit and be them and not be afraid to be judged. especially since it's not just, what would be called a busybody, right? The town gossip. Because if you tell the wrong person, then now the whole town or the whole community now knows, versus it being a little bit more accepted on social media, where we're all there for that same reason, whether we struggle with an addiction or we're working through. And that's why you see all the times, hey, struggling with weed addiction, help me out. And boom, you have like 10 likes instant and a lot of different ideas, versus you tell someone maybe in your community, oh, hey, they do drugs, hey, they do weed. So I'm not saying that's the sole purpose of what happens all the time. But I wonder if that's part of it. I haven't done any major research. That's just.
Yeah, I think that's exactly right, man. Whereas also too, you're right. We're all coming together for kind of the same purpose. People joke all the time, like, oh, that was a great tweet, Ty. I'm like, that was to myself. Like I'm working a lot of things. I'm tweeting your advice to myself, things that I'm constantly working on and growing on too. And I think you bring that to the same space too. Hey man, I didn't feel like going to the gym today, but I'm here. Let's go, and then you got 5 people cheering you on, and I didn't feel like going either, but I'm here, and then I can't tell you times that to be honest, man, you've inspired me to hit a second workout for the day, because I'll see you post at work and you're like, dude, I did not want to come, but I'm here. I'm getting after it. You show a picture. I'm like, dude, I got to get off my butt. Let's go again, like, so it's just cool that I think you're right. Like-minded individuals kind of come together, and it sort of elevates us all, man, which is really neat. But what made you decide, Zach, to start sharing on social then? And how long have you been on, man?
So I've been on since 2020.
Nice.
And part of the reason was getting on was, so I was trying to make a decision. Do I want to eventually open up my own practice, or what route do I want to go? Because I knew I wanted to be an expert in the field. I didn't necessarily want to just, be a school social worker or a therapist for the rest of my life. But, trying to figure out what to do more and how best to reach as many people as possible. And kind of had to get out of that old school idea, because being in school, I saw social media nothing but negative.
Me too.
Where I purposely got off like Snapchat, because how many kids got bullied on it, and how many times I had to figure out to teach these kids to take, whether it be a screenshot or replay, then take a screenshot. So all I saw was the negative of social media, especially in the schools, and how it really hurt kids. And then I had to get out of the old school thought of just, maybe becoming a professor or something like that. I was still thinking about that. And obviously with COVID and the pandemic, seeing how depression, anxiety, and disconnection was all on the rise. So in 2020, I want to say in December of 2020, I made a decision to take a risk and try to put out some encouragement, focus on mental health. And I didn't really have any clear direction. I didn't have a clear niche of what I want to do. I was just making videos on anxiety, some depression, grieving, stages of grief, parents, like how to connect with your kids. And I was always been focused on basically the mind, body, and spirit, as we can translate that into, God the Father, God the Son, and God the Holy Spirit. So I always had those themes to it. One of the verses, it talks about, meditating on the scriptures day and night, and that's taking care of your mindset, your body, and your spirit. So I really wanted to focus on how can there be an impact in this area. Now, it wasn't until about 6-7 months ago that I decided to focus more solely on men and helping men through strategy development, is what I really call it. Because people, it's like, relatively, that if you eat less calories and if you eat salads and good protein, you can lose weight. But the question becomes, how do you do that? So I've always seen like a lack of maybe, let's say, more strategy development, because you see men's coaching, and of course you coach someone through the different steps. But for me, it's like taking a step further of, let's discuss how a grocery store is set up. Do you know how a grocery store is set up? And a lot of times people will say no. So then through strategy, you can talk about, well, all the healthy stuff is on the outside aisles, all the bad stuff's on the inside aisles. And if you want to go to the front, how you see the tabloids and the candy, those are called impulse buys. Oh, it's right here. Oh, it's only $1. But that piece of candy, as we both know, is like 100, 180 calories.
Yeah, it's a lot to burn off.
So the question,
cardio, man.
Exactly, it's going to take you an hour just to burn that off. So I wanted to really focus on men, and seeing that men have been alone for, it's getting worse. I know there's a lot of different men communities that are growing and developing, but we lost this connection of men need men. Iron sharpens iron, and we need each other. And for some odd reason, we will either dog each other, make fun of each other, ridicule one another versus encourage and support one another. And so I wanted to focus on what can we do to bring men back together, whether you're more masculine or feminine, and just being who you are. Because there's a guy in my community who would get made fun of, and he's had to work through a lot of difficulties because he's more feminine, and there's nothing wrong with that. But again, we're not treating people who they are. Now and when you kind of go through that kind of dissonance, like you're acting opposite of who you are, that's when a lot of anxiety, depression, and hardships can come about. So if you're more feminine, be who you are. And so and for the more masculine guys would be standing up for guys who get made fun of, because we like to do the bystander effect. Even though we all may visualize, oh, if this happened, I would have done this. But when it comes to the test, who really does it? So for me, it's like teaching people how to be assertive, how to be who they are. So that way no man can go through life alone anymore, because no man's an island. And that's really that transformation journey, going from not having a clear niche of just doing mental health, because that's what I know. It's what I've been working through since 2011, since I've been in school. And figuring out how we can help each other, especially, and this always breaks my heart, that men are 4 times more likely to commit suicide than women. Yes, women, females are more likely to engage in self-harm, but men are more likely to complete it because we engage in more risky behaviors, we use drugs a little bit more, and we release things a little bit more physically versus internally.
Yeah, and I think there's this stigma around society, and you kind of alluded to it, where men don't ask for help. They just kind of get picked on. They just kind of withdraw. They go to alcohol, they might go to drugs, they might go to escapism, but it's sort of like this weird thing. Oh, be your own superhero. You don't need anybody else. Do it alone. And man, I used to kind of think that way. And man, it's so good to have men in community, because man, life's hard. Let's just be honest, man. Like life is hard. It's going to knock us all down at some points. And we need people there to give us an attaboy sometimes. Say, I'm proud of you. You know, I had a guy that I'm coaching here, the last couple months. I literally have told him I'm proud of him. And one day he just called me back, like almost in tears. He's like, dude, nobody's ever told me that. He goes, I haven't heard that in 20 years, man, that I'm proud of that. He's just like, that means so much to me. And I was like, man, like that breaks my heart. Like people should have encouragement around him all the time, And this guy getting bullied, man, that you mentioned, I've never understood bullies, man. I think it's just something broken inside them. Since I'm young, man, I don't know. Like it's never made sense to me. Why do you want to make somebody else feel worse? It just doesn't, that's never registered with me, man. I hope everybody wins. I hope people that hate me still live a good life and win, like we can all win, I don't understand that kind of broken mindset, I guess, but
well, it comes from a place really of insecurity, honestly, that there's something inadequate within themselves, that they have to take it out on somebody else because they want to show that they're more powerful, that they have it all together. And if you really look at the nature of bullying, it's all about power and control. So they might lack power and control in one area, but they can make this person feel like how they really are on the inside, and they have the power. And then going to another stigma is like, if you're a man and you cry, you're called a girl. Like, don't be a girl.
Yeah. That was one of the, that was some guy had that on Twitter actually a while ago. That's like, you're a wimp if you weep or if you cry.
Yeah.
And I said,
I saw something like that. Yeah.
I was like, dude, Jesus cried. So you think the most masculine man in the history of men who took everyone's sin and died, like you're calling that guy a wimp? Like that just doesn't make sense, man. Like I've cried with some of my best friends, man. It's crazy, that stigma, but I'm grateful for guys like you who bring that to the forefront, who aren't afraid to talk about that, and who are afraid to make it known that, man, we need each other. We're all better together, and I love that. Can we kind of talk about Warrior Kings a lot too, man, and how that came to be, the community, maybe the typical guy, if there's somebody out here listening to right now that who's the typical guy, I guess, that comes to you?
So the typical guy that will come to the community is someone who needs help, who needs guidance in life, who is unsure of themselves, and that they don't recognize that they have this warrior inside of them. And what is a warrior? And I always allude to Sun Tzu, The Art of War. That's knowing yourself. What are your strengths, weaknesses, triggers? That's knowing your terrain, so your environment, your resources, what you have available to you. And that's knowing the enemy. Like, what is the enemy? What is that roadblock that's preventing you from achieving success? And so I really wanted to focus with the Warrior Kings community to focus on bringing that warrior that's inside, and to surround them with brothers who are also struggling, who can feel more comfortable sharing this. I have two guys. I have a guy who's like, this was kind of cool, but he's not even in the United States, and he joins.
That's awesome. I have guys in my community from Dubai. We got one from the UK. We got them from everywhere. It's fun, man. It's great to connect with people.
Yeah, I believe the guy, and it's so cool. And I try to really focus too on making it affordable, because some of these programs and communities are very expensive. So also I try to focus on making it affordable, so it's for the typical guy. And that's why I really focus on the typical guy who needs brothers, who needs encouragement, who needs strategies of how to put their lives together. And that's why once a week, like, I host masterclasses. Like, I will design lessons, and every Monday at 8 p.m. EST, we really focus on doing the lesson. And it's like 5-6 slides for about good 40 minutes. And then it's like, I'll do challenges. Like, I'll do a week's challenges. So today I love to do Thankful Tuesday, get back to all the things of all the creators out there, and just people who have a good following, and people who are just starting the journey, and really focusing on, all right, guys, I want you guys to do a shout out to how someone has helped your life. And it doesn't have to be me. It can be whomever. Send a call, send a text, do a shout out. Let someone know that you appreciate them. And that way we can spread that gratitude. So it's that beginning step of learning how to be thankful and grateful for things. And so that way, when we develop that mindset, can really help. So, and everyone in the group has been positively impacted, because we take time to be with one another. We take time to discuss hurts. Like, I may have a lesson plan, but a guy might be like, hey, I'm going through a lot. I'm like, okay, cool. You guys good if we talk about this? It's a small community right now, so there's that flexibility for that.
Nice.
So I'm like, cool, let's talk about it. Like, what are you going through? Okay, you're going through feeling some rejections and insecurities. Okay. Oh, you're going through that too? Oh, look at that. Now we're not alone. Now we're showing vulnerability. We're not afraid to discuss what's going on inside of us. And I'll even mention something I might be going through, whether it's some doubts or fears. As we know, in this journey of opening yourself up to the world, you never know how you're going to respond, and or sometimes with growth, or sometimes with messaging. And so it provides that opportunity for us all to relate and connect with one another. And that's what the community is all about. It's all about bringing that connection. It's all about bringing that strategy to help improve your life. Because the more that we help each other, the more that we grow, the better not only do our lives become, but those who we are surrounded by.
That's right, man. We fill ourselves up so we can make everybody else around us better. I love that, man. And I love that how you said, it's kind of for everybody, and that brotherhood and that connection, and people can feel free to share and just be kind of who they are, and feel like they've got somebody that's got their back too, man, which is just a great thing to know as a guy. So if anybody out here who's listening, man, I'll link everything that Zach does below. Of course, I love this guy. He has an awesome YouTube channel too, man. I love checking out his content. I got to ask you this, Zach, how do you have time for this stuff, man? You're a full-time mental health counselor. You run a community. You're putting out a lot of content all the time. I feel like you're always on the timeline, cheering everybody on. How do you find the time? And maybe this is a good thing to bring up. What are some things maybe you've had to give up in order to create, sort of go towards that life that you want, man?
Well, I've had to give up maybe sometimes hanging out with friends. So there's sometimes there was a group previously that would hang out, and it was kind of late too. Sometimes I would get together with guys like late at night. So I had to give that up. So that way, because I know it was affecting my sleep. And if it was affecting my sleep, and it affects the content. And also looking at, the guys were good. However, sometimes they can get on more of a complaining route. And though we're all there and supporting each other. So I had to make that decision to focus more on growing the business at this point. And there's always going to be a sacrifice and cost of things. And for me, it's at this time growing this business, growing this. A lot of times I'll try as best as I can to do some bulk recording. So I might do 2 shorts in a day. And I know I haven't done that recently, just with everything being busy and everything. So you just have to recognize that sometimes you need a break. So it's going to be put in stalls so that way it doesn't affect your energy. But it's really knowing that there's someone out there who needs some encouragement, who needs a word of encouragement.
Mm.
And so it's putting others before yourself.
Mm.
And so I might have to, work an extra hour or two. Like literally like today, I got to work about 8 o'clock. Well, I started work at 7 o'clock. Then I went to my office about 8, and I didn't get off work till 6 o'clock. Came home, ate a quick dinner, and then I'm on here, right? So I
Man, I
remind
appreciate it,
myself
brother. I
that
appreciate you hopping on and blessing the people, man, with your time. Are you getting a workout in after this too?
maybe not today, just because it's getting a little bit late.
Yeah.
And I got some other things I got to do today, like some other social media things I got to work on.
Yeah.
But it's knowing that you're here to serve somebody else. So again, I always go back to, it'd be a disservice for me not to provide someone encouragement, someone who needs something. And so it's really putting others before yourself. So if I have to stay up an extra hour or two, I will do whatever. Or if I have to wake up another, an hour or two, like a lot of times before I took a short week break, I was getting up at 5 a.m.
Yeah.
and do a quick read, and then I'll do a quick short video. And I was doing that every single day. So what I'm going to do to be more smarter and work both smarter and harder is now I'm going to work on getting a whiteboard where I might focus more on taking a day and focusing just on this. So you structure more.
Mm.
But you just have fun with it. Like right now, like I'm just like, I love like the beginning process where you're okay, how can I make this better? How can I make my message more clear, more concise? Because someone needs it.
Mm.
And that way we're not producing selfish content. And a lot of times, like you, if I make a short, like let's say I did one in advocacy because I was going through some things where I had to stand up for myself and make a lot of phone calls.
Mm.
Because you have to lead by example. So I'm not going to always discuss the exact situation that happened. I'll talk about an idea of the situation or around it, like a concise version of it. But if we can't interact with you, the message is, if you can't advocate for yourself, how can you advocate for somebody else?
Mm-hmm. So true, man.
So knowing that, you just have to make time for things. And I love cliches. I think cliches are the best, and a lot of the communities love it. You're never gonna have time. You got to make time.
That's so true, man. Yeah, you create time for what's important, right? I think that's such a great point, man. Yeah, I'm like you, Zach. I woke up at 5:05 religiously every day for 2.5 years straight. No exceptions. We had 3 1-year-olds at one point there too. Some days, man, we got woke up a couple times. I was only on a few hours sleep. There's a lot of extra coffee those days, man. But you just do what you have to do through some seasons. And when you enjoy what you do and you feel like you're getting good feedback and helping people, that gives you a lot of energy too. And I see that in you a lot, man, where, dude, you're really pouring into a lot of people. You're seeing the fruit of that, seeing people's lives change. You can put out that one piece of content and it just clicks with somebody just in that right way, in that right moment, man. And you can change their day, their mind, their life. And how cool is it that we live in a time where you can do that, man? It's so neat.
Yeah, it's incredible. And I always go with this mindset of one view is one person being impacted, and potentially one person who's going to trust you enough to follow you then. So I always treat a view now as someone who's taking a chance on you, and then a follower who's someone who's willing to trust you.
I like that, man. That's a good mindset, a good mind frame. I like that, man. Brother, I keep talking to you forever. I want to wrap up with rapid fire questions. Are you prepared for these?
All right. I've been looking forward to this.
I'm going to give you 5 rapid fire questions. Just give me the first thing that comes to your mind. All right, brother? I know you're big into working out here the last year or so. We've seen you showing up every day at the gym, getting after it, man. What is your favorite day at the gym or your exercise? Or what's that one day where you look at it and you're like, oh, I can't wait to train this, man?
Okay, so it's going to be evening because that's when I go and work out. And I would have to say my favorite exercise is anything to do with, it's now going to be back. I used to be really focused in the biceps, but I've been seeing a lot of people post their back. So I've been trying to really do like a lot more back exercises, get that nice solid back looking. So I'm going to say it's anything that has to do with back exercise, whether it's like that pull when you take that Olympian bar and just pull it, man. I love that one.
Back attack, man. That's like my favorite day too, man. I'm addicted to pull-ups. I love back, man. It's such a fun day. It's a great day to train. I love that, man.
And I just got one of those dip belts too.
What'd you say?
I said I got one of those dip belts too. So yesterday I did for the first time a weighted pull-up.
Nice, man. Good for you, dude. I love that, brother. That's awesome, man. What's your favorite book of all time, Zach?
All right, favorite book of all time besides the Bible, because obviously that's made of many different books, would be the one book that's made the biggest impact on me, and that's The New 1 Minute Manager by Dr. Spencer Johnson and Ken Blanchard. Changed everything about how I do practice and everything. It's an amazing book.
That's all, dude. This is why I love this podcast so much, because I will definitely be ordering that book now, man. Thank you. Appreciate that. I can't wait to check that out. What's one of your favorite music or songs that you listen to while at the gym, or what are you a headphones guy at the gym, or what's if you need to hit a PR, you're really getting after it. What do you got? What do you got in the tunes, man?
All right, so I got some nice alternative rock. That's why I've been growing up a little bit of hip hop. So I got some Zuby on.
Zuby, shout out to
some,
the goat Zuby, man.
oh, especially a song like Perseverance. Oh, I think that's the song where he basically says, "Oh, what is it?" It's like basically where he's basically, oh gosh, I can't think of it right now.
I know that
but it's
song.
just like such an like excellent. It's like just like I think that's that song. There's like a line where it goes like something about like lifting weights and I can't think of it right now. It's driving me nuts. But it's just like a line in there that's just like absolute fire.
He's got a bunch like that. I put on a Hallelujah from Zuby. That one really beats too. It's like if I'm walking with God, I don't care where the devil is, and like he just goes on this rant about like long as I'm staying there. Yeah, Zuby's the goat, man. He's awesome.
He is.
What'd you say? Sorry.
I was gonna say, I know I've really gotten into him like the last like handful of months.
Yeah, same here, to be honest, man. Yeah, great dude in person too, man. What's the favorite thing that you do each day? Whether that might be at work, where you get to be with people, create content, work out. Like if there's that one thing, you know, your alarm hits and you're like, oh man, I can't wait to do this every day. What would that thing be, Zach?
The biggest thing is knowing that today I've been blessed with another day of life and another day to make an impact.
I love that, man. I kind of figured you'd say something along those lines because it's just who you are, man. I love that. Well, dude,
yeah.
I already mentioned that I'm going to link everything my brother here, Zach Goodman, does below. You got to check out his YouTube channel, give him a sub. His videos are really short, really impactful. They really hit. You're so good at content design too. Give his Twitter a follow. I love this guy, man. Let's get him up to 10,000, man. Everybody follow Zach. Shout him out, man. Let's get his content seen, man. I love this guy a lot. What are your goals for 2023 and maybe beyond that, Zach? What are you kind of looking to do in the future, man?
All right, 2023 would be obviously number one is growing more in God, more trust,
Amen.
Facing fear, punching fear in the face. And it's growing my relationship. Just got into a relationship that I haven't been in a relationship for many, many years. So growing that relationship.
Good for you, man.
Lucky
my
girlfriend. I know. Well, vice versa. I mean, you know, she actually supports a lot of what I do on this channel and like everything I do. So just having her support and everything has just been incredible.
That's awesome, man.
And then just getting in shape, honestly, getting in shape and then staying in shape would be, I would say those are my top three goals. So I've always struggled with weight gain and loss. So now I'm going into where my carbs really affect my body and really watching the kind of carbs I eat. So that way my body doesn't hurt as bad. And so really focusing on not just getting in shape, but then staying in shape for the rest of my life.
I love that, and making it a lifetime thing, dude. I'm gonna go ahead and make a prediction on Tyrompers No Limit podcast right here. We're gonna come back at the end of 2023, and it's already done. Time is just gonna catch up with you, but dude, your mindset, you're locked in, brother. I see you every day. You're a champion. You're gonna do what it takes to accomplish all those goals. I love that you start with God first too, man. And I could probably just sit here and chat with you for 2 more hours and love it. But I got to go do the dad thing. I get to go do the dad thing here in a few minutes, but maybe talk about that real quick. And we'll end with that, man, of your relationship with God, how that impacts everything you do and kind of that service mindset. Cause you know, both of us are men of faith. It's what is definitely the bedrock of my life as well. And I know it is for you too, man.
So God's everything. The first verse I really memorized is Proverbs 3:5-6. Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your understanding. And always acknowledge him and he'll make sure your path. As someone who I love analyzing, I love looking at data and information, but sometimes that can be too much where I'm sometimes afraid to make a move. You know, get that paralysis by overanalysis. And so really it's through God has really helped me just take a chance, go out there, see what happens, go interact with somebody. And for me, growing God is reducing a lot of that fear by doing that, which I'm afraid of. And the more that you do that, the more you face discomfort, the more you grow, and seeing how true that is. And then taking all these opportunities not to be afraid of who you are and going out there to see what can be done. I mean, when you have God in your life, and things don't necessarily get easier, but it's a heck of a lot nicer knowing someone's watching my back, and who discipline me in ways that I can understand when I'm ready to understand and want to understand, so I can be a better version and lead by example, knowing that I'm not perfect. I don't believe in perfection. I can act perfect in a perfected way at times, which, God has helped me focus more on a process versus a perfection. Versus you have to do everything right all the time. And so that's kind of hard in your job, where people looking to you how to live your life. So if I'm not being consistent in my own life, why would someone trust me?
That's right. Yeah.
But so kind of finding a way where you can be strong and lead, but also remember you have your own humanity as well. And I think that's what is amazing about God, is that we get grace every single day. Every day that we have grace, and knowing that as long as I'm trying and doing, not just trying to say I did the best I could, but actually figuring out what you can do better and improving that 1%. I think just knowing that grace every day, that when I come to God and repent and ask Him to show me His ways, and if I'm more act on it, the better your life really does get.
And I echo that. That's a great word to end on, man. I appreciate that. That's true. And I love it, kind of stepping outside your comfort zone, punching fear in the face. I love that, man. That'd be a great tweet. Put that one out there, man. Punch fear in the face.
Hey, I got to give the credit to Sean Cannell. He talks a lot about growing your YouTube channels and everything. And he talks, he's also a Christian who wants to help the world through getting other people to start up. So I gotta give him all the credit for that.
I love that. Well, that's what's cool about our community, man, is everybody is lifting everybody up, man. Well, dude, I appreciate you coming on, man. I think you're an on fire man of God who's leading other people, who's a guy that I look up to and admire a lot. And I'm super grateful for you to come on. I thank you so much, man, for sharing some wisdom, dropping some bombs on the people. Everybody go follow Zach Goodman. I'll put all his links below, man. Check out his YouTube channel. Give him a subscribe. Give him a follow on Twitter. Shoot him a DM and just say what's up, man, if you appreciated this. Shout out to the beautiful t-shirt that he's repping over there. If you guys want one of those, kindness is a choice, I'll link my t-shirt store below. You can shout out and you can support the channel. Appreciate that, guys. Again, this has been Tyrompers No Limit Podcast, episode number 77. Thank you guys for tuning in. This awesome guest, Zach. You guys go change the world. Be kind to yourself. Be kind to others, and go have the greatest night. Take care, guys.